Last episode, I asked whether the pattern holds one more time. For dials at once is the biggest cost collapse this field has ever seen, so does the number of engineers still go up? This episode is the answer, and almost all of it comes from people whose entire job is counting. Start with the intuition, because it is a reasonable one. If a tool makes each unit of work cheaper, you need fewer people doing that work. Inside one company, over 1 year, that is usually right. An economist ran that logic on the largest industry of his day and got the opposite answer. In 1865, William Stanley Jevons was looking at coal and at engines that burned less of it per unit of power, and he wrote that it is wholly a confusion of ideas to suppose that the economical use of fuel is equivalent to a diminished consumption. The very contrary is the truth. Cheaper coal per unit meant more things worth doing with coal, which meant more coal burned in total. Efficiency raised demand. That is a claim about whole industries rather than single factories, and this field has tested it 3 times, with real counts. Receipt 1, the compiler. In the mid-50s, one company had around 700 programmers working on a single air defense system, and people at the time reckoned that was roughly half the programmers in the United States. Call the entire profession 2,000 people, a number you could seat in a theater. Then came the promise from episode 1, that automatic programming would virtually eliminate coding. In 1970, the Census Bureau counted computer occupations for the first time and found 450,000 people. From a theater to a city, in the 2 decades after the tool that was going to remove the need for them. Receipt 2, the long arc, same source, same categories, 44 years later, 450,000 in 1970 becomes 4.6 million in 2014. Tenfold. Look at what sits in between: structured programming, databases, personal computers, objects, the web, open source, the cloud. Everyone was sold as a way to need less programming, and everyone was telling the truth about the task it targeted. Employment went up tenfold anyway. Receipt 3 is the live one. Worldwide, the developer population went from 31 million in 2022 to 47 million in early 2025. The fastest absolute growth in the history of the profession happened during the ChatGPT and Copilot years, not before them. Now the honest footnote, because a data episode that shows you only the flattering line is an advert. That growth decelerated to about 10% in the most recent year measured. A rising line that is flattening is still rising, but it is the line I would watch. And then there is the gift, which is why this episode is called what it is called. The Bureau of Labor Statistics publishes 10-year projections for every occupation it tracks. For the decade to 2034, it projects that employment of computer programmers will decline by 6%. In the same book, over the same decade, it projects that employment of software developers, quality assurance analysts and testers will grow by 15%. Same industry, same 10 years, same statisticians. One occupation shrinking, the other growing much faster than the average for all jobs. Counted in openings, that is about 5,500 a year for programmers, against about 129,000 a year for developers. The Bureau gives its reason plainly, that programming work continues to be automated, and that the higher-skilled programming tasks are moving to developers. So look at how those 2 occupations are defined. A computer programmer turns designs that somebody else produced into instructions a computer can follow, which is a practice. A software developer decides what the software should do, designs it, and checks that it works. Those are problems, and you have met them. They are the intent gap and verification. The distinction this series has spent 12 episodes arguing for is already sitting in the government's category structure. The practice-shaped job is projected to shrink, the discipline-shaped job is projected to grow, and nobody at the Bureau was thinking about my argument when they drew that line. They were classifying work. I have to say the uncomfortable part too. 3 receipts and a projection are an induction, not a proof. Every previous shift moved 1 dial or 2, this one moves 4, and a pattern that has always held can still break. Projections are projections, published before the decade they describe. And there is something worse hiding in these numbers, because every figure I have quoted is an aggregate. Aggregates are averages of people, and an average can climb while a group inside it falls through the floor. That is exactly what is happening right now. Next episode, who is actually losing, and it is not who most people think.